Yo, what up, fatherhoods? It's another great episode. We got some dope guests today. But first, let me quickly introduce who we got with us. Today, we're stirring the pot with the culinary kings of the Bronx.
Literally.
Ghetto Gastro. They've cooked up a storm from Martha Stewart to Diddy and even had a little showing at the Oscars. But today, they're serving us some wisdom on fatherhood, entrepreneurship, and making it big while staying true to your roots. So, gentlemen, let's dig in. Why don't y'all quickly introduce yourselves for the audience, and then we'll get going with the convo.
Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Chef Lester Walker.
What's up, everybody? I'm Pierre, Serrao.
And, we started this thing up about 11 years ago. Last year made our 10th year anniversary. We put out our book, and we really wanted to fill a space as far as bringing more Blackness, bringing more just unapologetic Blackness to the culinary game. You know, we were getting a little unnerved going to certain restaurants, and you hear our music playing. You hear you see a lot of our culture in a place, man. But we weren't the ones that were managing the area per se, or we didn't see people like us in the kitchen putting the food out. So we wanted to fill a space, and we started up Ghetto Gastro, which is a culinary collective that intersects that design, art, and fashion.
A little bit of activism sprinkled in there.
You said activism?
A little bit of that too, yeah.
Sure.
A lot of bit of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the child dynamic for you guys? Like, how many kids without the baby moms? Like, what's that looking like?
I got one bloodline son, but I got a lot of sons on these streets that I done fathered a lot of their styles, man. So we literally and figuratively watering the seeds out here, So I have one. My son's actually right here.
Big facts with that though. And myself, I have a daughter. She's 3.5, and I got another one on the way that's due mid-August, mid to early.
Nice.
Wow.
I got a quick question just to kind of start off the whole food and kids convo. And this is something that I don't think a lot of dads maybe think about this, but sometimes when, I'm up in the morning or at nighttime and I'm making dinner for my son or making sure that he's fed, there's a definite sense of pride. And I'm like, damn, I'm able to do this and provide for him like this. How do you guys feel in terms of just being able to, cook a good meal for your kids and make sure that they're, fed both mentally and physically?
I mean, for us, I think it's major, just being able to have like that superpower of being able to nourish the people around you. It's just a blessing in its own right. And I know my daughter looks forward to when I'm cooking food, and I know Lester's son Trey also looks forward to spending moments in the kitchen with him. And it's really been good for us to be able to develop a relationship with food with our kids where they aren't afraid of things, where they're willing to try stuff and just open up their minds a little bit more. So, I mean, it's definitely a real big thing in our house, getting in that kitchen and making pop.
Yeah, for sure. Now, when I think of being able to feed my son, not only mentally, but physically, but also I think about a liberation factor of it as well. I feel like it gives us freedom to be able to, cook for ourselves, cook for our loved ones, and nourish people, in time of need, or just in time of just being social, being active. I really take pride in being able to feed my son, and not only that, pass him down the lessons on how to feed himself, and and how to feed his family when he has a family, and how to, just to maybe feed his friends as well, because I think breaking bread gives you the opportunity to build bridges with others. And these are the lessons that I passed down to my son, and who me and P passed down to our children.
You guys come from the Bronx, right?
Yeah. I was born and raised in the Bronx. I was born at Einstein Hospital, grew up in Co-op City, Section 5.
And myself, I was born in Hartford, Connecticut, but I've been adopted by the Bronx in the past, decade or so. Some change doing work out there and being down with the gang. They, I'm sanctioned out there now.
I'm originally from the Bronx, and every time I go back to the neighborhood, it's more and more apparent, and you would think that this is less the case now, just given, you know, progress and time. There's still a lot of food deserts, right, in the Bronx. And so what you just talked about, I know part of your guys' mission is the education, you know, activism, education, and just empowerment of people of color in places like the Bronx, so that they can fend for themselves and be liberated, like you said, Les, through food and culture and all these things, right? And so when I think about what you guys do, how it could impact the place that we're from or adopted by, how do you go about trying to impact change around that, right? Because I think it's both, like from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I think it's important, but also as parents, what you can do to stimulate that group of people and their kids is tremendous. So what are some initiatives that you guys have taken on to try to help affect change?
Well, for us, we talk about how community builds immunity on our side. And, you know, we've been Black Power Kitchen since day one. It's not something that we're new to. We're very true to it. We're not overnight activists. So, I mean, even during like the height of the pandemic, we teamed up with our friends at La Mirada, which is a Oaxacan restaurant that's run by undocumented Mexican immigrants on Willis Ave. And, you know, we teamed up with them and our friends at Rethink Food to, you know, feed, you know, tens of thousands of people in the Bronx who are food insecure during the pandemic. And then even still to today, we've raised over $1.5 million in efforts of feeding people in the Bronx with La Mirada. So that's continual. That's a continuous thing with like mutual aid that we do. And even with our products as well, at Ghetto Gastro, you know, we're also about accessibility. And our events are one thing because you kind of have to be there to experience it. But now, with us stepping out into like the consumer product goods world, we're now offering different products for people to eat at home and be able to get a little bit of that flair, a little bit of that stealth health, some of that nutrition in their house, some products, some foods that are better for them, designed with whole foods and just nourishing our people in mind. So, I mean, we have some food products that are entering Target this summer, starting off with like the pancake and waffle mixes, some syrups and toaster pastries, but then looking to expand our portfolio. So it's really about the different avenues of using culinary entrepreneurism to teach and like expand our minds on, you know, what's what and, you know, how to look out for each other.
How do you guys tackle the nutrition side of things? You know, a lot of us grew up where it was a lot of negative nutritional habits, you know, whether because of lack of or just not knowing, you know, the fast food, the foods at the corner store or whatever. And it seems like it's a cycle that repeats itself even in parenthood. Like you'll just go to the easy fast food stuff to give to the kids and it'll shut them up. How do you guys tackle that for yourselves at home and for what you're doing in the community?
I think the fun part about doing that is what we do is like I want to say like we rebrand a lot of these foods that we grew up eating. For instance, you go to the store, you get a chopped cheese for $5, but you know, but it's packed with high cholesterol and, you know, these dairy products that are put a mucus in our bodies and things like that, reversing the nutrition process. So we do things like give the people that we love, that we know, traditional dishes like a chopped cheese, but then we make it a vegan version of it, you know, where it's even tastier than the original, but it's vegan and it's accessible. All of the ingredients that are in the dish are accessible. You can get them in your local supermarket. You could buy them with your EBT card. You could buy them with your food stamps, what have you. And like even dishes like feijoada, like dishes that come from the mouth of the global South. These dishes that were comforting and what people grew in their backyards, that everybody brought something to the table and, you know, they put it all in one pot and they were able to feed each other, able to nourish one another, you know. So it's just simple things like that we like to do, like coquitos. You know, we have a dairy-free version of a coquito. We have, you know, we got ices in there, you know, made from fresh juices and what have you. So it's like a lot of fun things that we like to eat, that we grew up eating, but we present them in a way that is more, you know, high vibrational for you.
Right. I think for us, it's really been about, we've been on this journey ourselves as well, right? Because we come from similar places where there's inaccess to healthy foods, healthy options, even understanding the resources, vegetables and things like that, how to consume them, what they taste like, even what they look like. So for us, it's trying to create an approach that doesn't seem like too intimidating, but is like packed with flavor, vibes, and somewhat like, especially like with the lingo and all of that, like you have to mix in different aspects of how people learn and catch them in different ways. So whether it's visual, physical, or like literal, and they're reading shit, it's like there's just different ways for us to connect with people. So we have to take all of that into consideration as well, because we all learn differently. Not everybody picks things up the same way. So just being able to spread out the knowledge, whether it's us taking trips to, us taking a trip to West Africa and going to learn about things like that, and then being able about what's going on in the culture out there, and then being able to create, if it's not like an experience or a dish that speaks to that, that's kind of how we take a little bit of our learnings as well and put it back into the things that we're doing.
And we take the trauma out of a lot of different foods too. Like we extract the trauma from, let's say, for instance, we were just in West Africa and they have a red grain rice that most of the Liberians, when they think of this red rice, they think of the time of war, when that's all that they had to eat. But that was something that, like, for instance, for like, Black people, Spanish people, we have sofrito, we have our collard greens, we got beef, we go to the supermarket, we go to the pizza shop, we'll get a beef patty. But like, those are the type of foods that bring back memories, that they're tasty, they're health, that they're good for you. But we do a different type of patty. We do one with collard greens and plantains. We call that the high bridge. You know what I mean? Because in High Bridge area of the Bronx, you have a huge population of West Africans and a huge population of Latinx community as well. So we like to play around with the lingo, with the foods, and get everybody involved and eat right.
Mm-hmm. How and when did you guys learn about nutrition in food? Because like E said, especially as a kid, and if for some of us, if the parents weren't involved in terms of just being there to cook or knowing themselves about nutrition, like how did that jump go for you guys?
I mean, like, well, for me, it was always like being able to have that knowledge and that wisdom to tap into my true self. And what I've learned and over reading over the years, like in the ancient times of Timbuktu, the kings and the warriors, they had a plant-based diet. They ate dates, they ate preserved vegetables. So I wanted to base my life and base my diet amongst the diet of kings and queens, and I wanted to pass that down to my seeds, and to introduce my mom to it too, because my mom grew up in Harlem. She grew up in a family of 7, so she didn't really have access to a lot of these healthy meals that that I can prepare now. But I wanted to make it my job to give her the knowledge and give her the tutelage that she's given me over the years, but mine is going to be with food.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, I definitely learned a lot in my life just because, like, kind of listening to elders and stuff too, right? When I was, my great grandmother's from Guyana. She's like a Arawak, Amerindian, like original like tribes person or whatever. And growing up, I grew up between Hartford and Barbados, and when I would spend time in the islands, that's when I learned about like sea moss and linseed and like different herbs as medicine and things like that when I was younger. So like when I was young, I started consuming these things at a very young age because they were given to me. There was a point where like adolescence and stuff, that all that goes over your head, and it's just like junk food, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But then when we got back into like our adulthood, and especially into my sort of professional life as a chef, I had to create and find my own voice around this practice that I had. And for me, I always played sports and I was athletic. So I wanted to maintain that physique, energy, all of the things that come with it. I still go to the gym and train. So I wanted to tap into all the things that would just benefit my body in the long term. So I reverted back to a lot of the knowledge that I was learning from the Rastas on the island and my great grandmother and my family. And then and just continue to build on it, whether it's connecting with different like-minded individuals in the health and wellness space, or just honestly just reading books, like Les is saying, like just diving in. Like I have a huge book collection over here, and yeah, I mean, it's just about really wanting to do it. And like we have some friends in our circles as well who converted our eating habits and things like that, and we kind of all have been doing similar on a similar path, maybe not the exact timeline and not the exact journey, but a lot of us have been, you know, trying to redirect in a lot of the misinformation that we've been fed over the years, unlearn a lot of these bad habits and reteach ourselves some new things that'll help us add years onto our life. So like I didn't grow up doing fresh juices in the morning and all of that, but like now at this point, you know, it's if we have the knowledge and the information, that things that'll be better for us to add years onto our life and give us more energy. I'm not
vitality.
You know what I'm saying? Like making sure all that plays into your mental health as well. So for us, it's just been about this journey on self-mastery and being the best versions of ourselves that we can be. And all that comes in from the things that you're putting in your body, contribute to the things that you're putting out. So it's just like just life lessons at the end of the day, like learning from elders, learning from the people around us. I learn a lot from Les, and, you know, I'm sure he picks some stuff up for me as well and apply that. You know, it's really the difference between us is like we actually apply it to our lives, like all day, and like we walk it like we talk it. So, and it's just been an evolution though. It's definitely been a journey.
Yeah, still sharp and still. So we got a sturdy crew, we got a sturdy collective. So, you know, we just bouncing ideas over one another, and, you know, iron sharpens iron. So we always gonna be ready for war, ready for battle.
Les, let me ask you, because I think you didn't mention the age of your son. How old is your son?
My son, 13.
Okay, so I figured he was older.
Yeah.
You being a chef with a healthy kind of focus and consciousness, right? Was there ever a phase in his development, or maybe even today, I don't know if that's the case, where there's been almost like a battle of the minds, right? In the sense that he may be gravitating toward foods that are not healthy for him. It's like conflict because, you know, maybe it's his friends or whatever. Has that come about? And if so, how have you handled that friction?
Yeah, at one point when he was like, before he turned 10 years old, I think he was like, maybe he might have been 10, 11-year-old. He gained a lot of weight. And I would be like, yo, like, I would ask his moms too. And I'd be like, damn, like, where's he getting all of this weight from? Like, I understand, all right, he's a kid, maybe it's a little baby fat or whatever. But they were telling me that he was going to McDonald's every day. And once I mentioned that to my son, and once I mentioned that to his mom, like, yo, he's getting a little, it looks like he's getting overweight. Like, I didn't recognize him for a second. And then they cut the McDonald's out, like, totally. And then it started to just be like, his mom is Vietnamese. So in the Vietnamese culture, they eat a lot of, you know, grains, a lot of home, like their own food. And you can't get their food processed, really. You have to go to either one of their, like a Vietnamese restaurant, or, you know, grandma's cooking, or my son's mother is cooking for him. And then I noticed a huge, you know, weight loss, and he got into basketball. So now he's like fit, and, you know, he dropped a lot of that baby fat. But, you know, and also like the way I eat, I influence my son on how he eats as well too. Cause like whatever I'm eating, he's gonna eat. I'm not gonna make myself a meal that's, you know, devised of mostly plants and maybe have a little bit of chicken on a plate of fish, and I'm gonna give him a burger and fries. Like that's not happening. He's gonna eat what I eat. So in turn, you know, it makes him feel better. He's more active. He has more energy, more endurance, and not only that, he likes the food. Like he's my son. Like, think about it, like I didn't grow up with a father, but if I did, I know that I would want to do exactly what he's doing. Like that would be like my idol. That would be my superhero. You know what I mean? So, you know, he sees that I'm strong, I'm active, I'm in the gym every day, and, you know, these are just lessons that I'm passing down to him. So, you know, my son looks great right now, and I have to say that's probably has a lot to do with the way, you know, not only what I'm giving him example, what I'm telling him that he should eat, or what I'm suggesting, but I'm also leading by example too. So he sees that, and you know, it's just they're just mirrors of us. The children are mirrors of their parents. They're mirrors of, people that they consider themselves that they want to be something like one day, or, they mimic us. So it's really important that we start them like from the ground up. And that's from food to the drip they put on, to the hat they put on their head, to the way they present themselves. You go get a fresh haircut, you brush your teeth, you make your bed in the morning. Like all of that coincides with one another.
Something I struggle with, and I don't know if you guys can all relate, but like I find myself getting preachy with my kids, right? And I'm not really like, I don't like to lecture, because I know how that typically falls on deaf ears. Like when it was done to me, I just be like, here we go again, right? But I find myself like having to do that when it comes to nutrition, and just like, unfortunately, where I go is like almost like a scare tactic, in the sense that I'm trying to illustrate to my kids what the progression is for some of the choices that they make, right? Mm-hmm. I try not to make it super like, morbid, right? Like I'm not trying to go from like, yo, you just had a McDonald's meal,
you're gonna die.
Right? Like I'm not trying to go that route, but at the same time, I want them to understand like, yo, if you keep this up, here's what this is going to look like. And we have the advantage of like YouTube and photos that you could quickly pull up on your phone to kind of illustrate the point. But I don't find that does a lot, because one, when you're young, you feel like you're going to live forever. So I don't think that really affects them. But what I do notice is when I shut up and I just act in that way, you start to see them shift, right? So I'm curious, like, and this is for everybody, how often are you caught kind of in that world, right? Where you find yourself just yapping, but really not focusing your attention on the activity?
I would say that's rare for me, man, because like I'm gonna keep it a stack with you. Like the way I live, the image that we're giving you guys, the Ghetto Gastro image, the Black Power image, is not just for an image. Like this is like really what we do. Like we take a lot of our principles from the Panther Party in 1969, when they started the free breakfast program, and how that was so instrumental in, on the nation, that now in every school that there is, they have free breakfast program. And that started off as an idea from the Black Panther Party that was demonized from the president at the time. Right. But it has been implemented in our high schools, in our middle schools, in all of our schools. So that has to play a big part in the modeling of, our youth and of our government and how we're moving. So I'm just being an example of how to, show appreciation to our ancestors, show the appreciation to the forefathers of this. I mean, I'm not vegan. I consider myself plant-based, and people seem to get confused with plant-based and veganism. Plant-based is when 80% of your plate is plants, and I guess 20% is an animal product or what have you. So when I buy food from my home, it's mostly plants. It's plants. That's all it is, really. So, but when I do go out, when I do go to different restaurants, and if they have an amazing dish, Kobe, like for instance, if I'm in Tokyo, I'm gonna have Kobe. I'm gonna try Wagyu. But when I'm home, I'm practicing the principles that I'm preaching in Black Power Kitchen.
And for me as well, it's like, I mean, my daughter's 3 and some change. So it's not as, I mean, look, she's very mature for her age and well developed. So she understands things and picks up the game like real quick. And even when she was younger, she has right now she has a silver cap in her tooth because she got cavities from eating too much dry fruit. And her mother and I, we thought that we were doing the right thing. We're like, okay, we're not going to give her any candy. We're going to give her this. And, to satisfy like the sweet tooth or whatever. And that actually ended up doing like world's worst damage, like dried mango in your teeth. That's, crazy amounts of sugar or whatever. So like from that point, when she got like a cap on her mouth, and when it comes to eating sweet things now, like the conversation is like, listen, baby, like that's got too much sugar in it. Too much sugar is bad for your teeth. you know what's going on in your mouth. Right. And that clicks with her. So she doesn't, it's not, daddy, I want this, daddy. It's like, okay, daddy, like, what can I have? Can I have a piece of fruit? Versus like candy, like she'll see some candy and look at me and she already know the answer is no. And then she'll go and revert to something else that she could get that she knows I'm gonna say yes to, like some blueberries or some strawberries or something like that. So I think like Lester's saying too, it's just like by leading by example. For us, not in my house, we don't have like a bunch of junk food and access to all these other little snacks and things like that. I don't demonize it because I myself enjoy like a little every once in a while, you know what I'm saying? But like that's, you get that when we go to the movies or something like that. It's all about,
Moderation.
It's all about, portion control and
balance.
Understanding the balance. And like in our house, we eat everything. Like she eats all of her vegetables raw or cooked. So she knows that in that, it's like, look, if you eat all of your food, this is a rule in my house. I'm like, if you eat all of your food, then we could talk about dessert and juice, Right. And then like, and in that, my daughter eats everything. She'll wash off a plate of broccoli, avocados, some sweet potatoes and salad and this and that. She's going to eat it because she knows that there's potential upside for her. But really, it's just about indoctrinating that idea of eat your vegetables. And you grow to be big and strong.
Shit, so, I would take from that, like, because I hate the dentist. So like, if I'm have to go to the dentist and they got to shoot needles of anesthesia in my mouth and then they pull out these weird looking tools, I'm staying away from it. You know what I mean?
It's like fear tactics from like experience, so it's not necessarily things that we're making up, but it's like stuff that they've seen and that they can see. Like, look, if you keep doing that, then you're going to end up like that. So, and also like Lester's son, I'll say like what I've seen with Les and his son is that his son is 13 and like he said he wants to play ball and stuff. So his son is going to make the adjustments that he needs to be a better ball player. He's not going to sit around and eat, a bunch of bullshit if he's got an AAU game, because then he's going to be sluggish and he's not going to put up his numbers. And then what? You know what I'm saying? So like, it's really just about taking like these life experiences and these examples that you could set and then just building on top of that.
And you got people like Cade Cunningham for the Pistons that's like, I think he's all vegan if I'm not mistaken. Like you're starting to see athletes.
Yeah, there's a lot of plant-based and veganism going on.
Sure.
That wasn't in front of us before, by people that look like us, you know what I'm saying? But Black, Latino, we artists, whatever, like we're seeing it. It's more prevalent now.
Know that we're the ones who started that whole thing too. Rastafarians, Ital is vital. That is a long time, like our ancestors, they eat more plants than anything else. All this extra stuff, these commodified foods and, over processed foods, that stuff was introduced to us over the years. But as a people, over the long term, people of color have been eating predominantly plants for a long time, So it's really just about us teaching each other, and it's teaching each other too. It's like, that's really what's important. Like, we got to listen to the youth got to listen to us. We got to listen to our peers and share information. And like you said, don't sound too preachy, but like whatever you got to do to get the message across sometimes too.
How do you get the young ones to listen to you?
That's I kind of want to dive into that because you touched on it a little bit, but we got to bring it down. Let's just say a parent or parents that aren't as disciplined, right? And they have toddlers, like I have toddlers. The toddlers fight the eating of vegetables. They think it looks disgusting. Or is there anything that you guys implemented early on that you found that worked to get the kids the toddlers at that age, which is the key age for them to start to learn those habits, to eat some of this more healthy stuff?
But also add on to that, and then go from there to, the teenagers who might be set in their ways, and how do you talk to teenagers to try to turn them around and break the bad habits so that they actually listen to you?
I think it's about, like, for instance, to make vegetables a little bit more tasty is when you throw them in like curries or you throw them in a fried rice, something fun. You show a kid how to cook in a wok and he's like, wow, that's interesting. And then, it looks good when it's being cooked. So that, because we're visual people, we like to see how things look. And also, like, when I was a teenager and I was suffering from acne and things like that, I knew that vegetables and like green vegetables would like help kind of like dry my skin out a little bit. So, I don't have as many flare-ups. Dairy was making my skin break out a lot. Sugar was. So I knew at an early time, like an early point in my life, like, and I played sports as well. So when I started to incorporate more, you know, vegetables and more green, more vitamin B and C into my diet, you know, my skin cleared up. I was more active on the court. I was more alert, you know. So things like this, you got to listen to your body too. Not everybody has the same body, the same blood type or what have you. Like when I first started to dabble into veganism and I wanted a high protein diet, I thought that eating a lot of beans was going to replace the protein from the animal. But in turn, since I'm O negative, the beans were like making me blow up, and I was even gaining more weight than I thought I should. Like I was just blowing up, but I didn't understand why. But I was eating a lot of grains, I was eating a lot of bread, I was eating a lot of beans, and those are all gassy. That's wheat, that's enriched flour, and those are all inflammatory. So, you know, like not everybody has the same DNA. Not everybody can eat the same things, but you know, it's about trial and error.
And I think that what's worked for me, you know, I can't speak on everything and on everybody, but like I know what works for me, and what's worked for me is, and also with people I see around me who have kids, who are more exploratory with the food, is really making them a part of the process too, right? Like everybody doesn't have the same bandwidth, but I know that I take my daughter to the farmer's market with me. She comes to the grocery store with me. She picks out the vegetables off the, you know, out the produce out. Like, I'm like, what do you want to eat? You know, and we also like play around with food in the house too. So whether it's planting herbs and seeds and stuff like that to grow vegetables, or going to a garden around us, just to spend some time around the foods, because once they familiarize themselves with the foods, then they're not as scared to try them and explore a little bit more. Like you bring a kid to a garden and let them pull a tomato off a tree and bite into it, a cherry tomato. It's a lot different than going to the grocery store and pulling something off and then putting it on a plate and then calling them from another room and being like, yo, come and eat this. Because they have no connection to the food. So they don't even know. They're like, what is that? I don't want that. But once they spend a little time, like my daughter will come in the kitchen, she'll mix a little salad dressing, or, you know, give her a knife, let her chop some stuff. She's a lot more a part of the process. So she feels connected to the food that she's eating. And then like during the process, she'll cut a pepper, eat it, taste it. And in our house as well, like you don't have to like everything, but you have to be open to trying and tasting things. And you can't just say, no, I don't want to eat it. It's like, no, take a bite, try it, chew it. And if you really don't like it that much, then all right, we're not going to have this argument. We're not going to have an argument. And I learn what your likes and dislikes are. But just by like having her and even like my nieces and nephews and stuff too, having them a part of the process has definitely changed the way that my daughter looks at food. And I also have like some nieces and nephews and cousins who are mid-teens, like between like 14 and 19. And they learn a lot from me because they say they like coming in the kitchen with me and like spending time and like hearing about, okay, what is this? Like, this is a carrot, or this is a piece of squash or asparagus. Like, why are you cooking it like that? And can I try that? It just kind of opens up their mind to being a little bit more inquisitive versus just being like really, you know, off put by just like a plate of food put in front of them, because they don't have a connection to it, you know, like they just come home and it's just like, all right, here's food. They're like, no, I don't want that. I want some chicken and some fries, because like that's what they see on TV. And like that's what they, you know, the commercials are feeding them that stuff. But when you cut out a little bit of that television, you know, it's really about how you spend your time too. Like we all got the same 24 hours in a day. So instead of spending 4 hours watching TV after school, before dinner or whatever it is, however much time in a day you spend watching television, spend a little bit of time outside or just being connected to the foods that you're eating, because then you have a relationship with it, you know, and then you feel like you need it in your life. You know, like when I taught like my niece about sea moss for the first time, she was grossed out. She was like, ew, I don't want that. Like, But then when I showed her some videos of people like Left Eye Lopez talking about it, or Beyonce talking about sea moss and this and that changed her mind. And then I showed her, and then she hit it. You know, she stayed with me for a week and she was taking sea moss, and I asked her how she felt. She was like, yo, honestly, like, I feel better. She's like, I feel like I have a little bit more energy and this and that. And I could see her personality change just with like the week that she spent with me. So when I saw that, now like she'll call me every once in a while. She'll be in the kitchen cooking some food. You know, my older brother would be like, yo, she cooking food for her moms and stuff like that. So just by them being a little bit more connected to it in the house and around them, just makes them care a little bit more. Because you have to care. Like if you're not around it, you're not going to care about
it. The thing you just said about taking them to the supermarket or the farmer's market is such a basic thing, but I'm thinking about my own experiences with my 3 kids, and 99% of the time, my wife and I, we're trying to leave them so that we can be productive, get in and get
fast,
out.
Right?
Get in, get out. Right.
But and then when we do have to take them with us, it's a chore.
It's a chore because they're like this. They don't know what's going on.
But we're not thinking, yo, let's have them pick the fruit. Let's have them
the impact.
Like, we trying to like diffuse situations and like run, and it's like chaos.
Yeah.
But changing your mindset and actually having them be a part of the process, I think is genius. So thank you.
Allow them to explore a little bit in those spaces, because like if they're attracted to something like in a farmer's market or a grocery store, follow them and ask them what it is, you know, and be like, okay, are you going to eat this? Like, do you like that? Do you want to know what it tastes like? Because then they're part of the process. Like my daughter knows on Saturdays or Sundays that we're going to the farmer's market. It's not even a question.
We've done that.
Go to the market.
We've done that recently in our crib. We've taken them to the farmer's market, and I have seen a difference. And we've added them being a part of the food prep.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, when they go to see my mom, their grandma, she has them do fruit salads. And now I notice the kids like fruit more, you know, and they want fruit salads. And then my wife is having them make salad, regular salad and dressing. And now the kids want salad more. Like, you know, so everything you're saying is true. As I've seen it in the past couple of months happen in real time in my crib.
Yeah. And honestly, like this isn't even from like parenting books. Like I don't read books. Like I just learn from experience. And I know how I learned. Like my mom had myself and my siblings in the kitchen doing potato peeling competitions to see who didn't have to wash dishes and this and that. But like, and we were just learning like life skills, learning how to cook, and they weren't chores. They were making it like competition, making it fun, making it a game. So that you didn't feel like, oh man, I gotta go and do this. It's like, nah, like, yo, you want to eat? Are you hungry? Like, all right, cool. Let's go to the grocery store and pick out some food that you're gonna eat throughout the week. Cause then that way, A, you're gonna reduce waste in your house because everything's gonna get eaten. And then B, your kids are part of the process. They're not like just sitting at home waiting for you to come home with groceries and put food on the table for them.
Yo, you guys also
this shit is not a hotel. Let me tell you, you don't have a maid, do not have a maid. You know what I mean? Like you have to be a part of the process. Because I'm not like, and also like this is the last thing I'll say because I know I'm kind of carrying on, but I don't look at raising my child. I don't look at like I'm raising a child. I feel like I'm raising an adult. And I need to teach my little one the things that she needs to learn so that when she grows older,
the tools.
That as an adult, like this stuff is just natural to her. Like she knows that we go outside and exercise, we go to the market, we eat our vegetables. And also you can have like some ice cream and this and that. So it's just balance.
One thing I wanted to one last thing was you guys kind of touched on it was the relationship with, I think it's both nature and natural foods. I think there's always been a long time running a narrative that it's like uncool to have that connection and have that relationship. And therefore you end up, you know, not being healthy because you're missing out on the opportunities to understand that, you know, you're connected to nature and you have access to natural foods if you seek it out.
Yeah. I mean, natural foods, I mean, especially like in communities of color where like we talking about food deserts earlier, or you kind of allured to it. We refer to them as food as a food apartheid, mainly because the desert is a natural occurrence. And we got that from Karen Washington. That's, you know, she came up coined that phrase, the food apartheid. And the neighborhoods, like also we look at it as sort of it's like a dog eat dog world out there, right? So like you don't want to be dog food. You don't want to be like bait out here. So you can't be thin. You can't be unhealthy. You can't be frail because like that's how you're gonna get picked on. Like that's how cats are gonna have the upper hand on you. Like that's at least how I look at it. So
Can't be lacking out here.
Can't be lacking. So, you know, we gotta, you know, be connected to the food.
You want to look good, you better cook good.
Big facts, all of that.
Where's that T-shirt at?
Yeah, I was about to say, where's that T-shirt?
Coming soon.
Shop?
That's coming soon. That's coming
Yo,
soon.
don't to the people listening, don't bite that. That's their shit. All right.
That is our.
So tell us. I know we got just a couple more minutes here, but like, tell us about the book. I know you said last year on your 10th anniversary, you guys dropped the book. I know it's
Black Power Kitchen.
Black Power Kitchen. It's more than just recipes, right? Because I think you think chefs, you're gonna think a recipe book. It encapsulates a lot of things. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
There's recipes, but it's recipes for success. You know, this is a manifesto to the Bronx. This is a love letter to, you know, the borough that we grew up in, that we're in love with, and that we want to empower others in the community to become not like us, but greater than us. So we use this book as a catalyst for the next Ghetto Gastro successors, you know, our next successors. And it's also a way to just connect one another with our ancestors, you know, connect one another with different communities. Because when you think about the ghetto, there's ghettos everywhere. You know, you got the ghettos, they call them favelas in Brazil. You know, they call them shanty towns in Africa. You know, they call them, you know, there's slums in Mumbai. You know, there's ghettos everywhere. But we use this book right here as a common denominator to connect everyone, to let everyone know that, yo, everybody eats.
And we do it with like the recipes, like Les is talking about. It's also a lot of visual stuff in there as well. So it's food, lifestyle, photography, and we mix it with a lot of art as well from different luminaries across the artistic space, Latinx, the Latinx community. So we have everybody from Kerry James Marshall to Wangechi Mutu, Tyler Mitchell. The photography was done by our good friend Joshua Woods and Naquan Schuller. I mean, we even have like Emory Douglas from the Black Panther Party in our book, Dream Hampton, Miss Thelma Golden. So it's ASAP Ferg. So we're touching on different, just different points of Blackness as well. So it's the food, it's the culture, it's the arts, it's everything. And Black Power Kitchen. So that's available everywhere. And also we just enter Target with our kitchen appliances as well, with another iteration of our kitchen appliances. So we have the air fryers, the waffle makers, toasters, and coffee machines. We also got the cookware out and all that. Food products coming soon as well to Target. So really just about taking culinary entrepreneurism and being able to expand on you know, just being better human beings and being able to offer our community accessible things, whether it's information, products, food, vibes, you know, whatever it is, just to kind of help empower them in different ways.
We just sharing the wealth, man. That's all. You know, this information is not just for us to have. It's for all of us to have. You know, so that's the way that we're gonna keep growing. We're gonna become more successful. We're gonna progress by sharing this wealth. By sharing this wealth, you know, wealth is health. Health is wealth.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's critical work, right? Especially the education component of all of this, right? Because it feels really hard to get to a place where you really can be confident in the nutrients and how to prepare them so that you can ingest them properly and all that good stuff. So it feels like a departure for a lot of us. Simplifying it the way it seems like you guys are doing, I think is super valuable. I have one request before we bounce. We need more videos from y'all, like chefing it up.
Coming.
We got some. We cooking right now. We cooking right now.
Our space. We since the pandemic, we actually closed out like our actual studio space. So
Okay.
we've been without a studio for like 3 years, but we just started construction, broke ground like a couple of weeks ago, and we'll be back in the lab proper, doing it up like how we need to, and giving everybody all the information, the videos, the stories, the actual food, the products, all the vibes, all that's coming soon. So just stay tuned and
we'll be up and running by Labor.
Trust the process.
By Labor Day to play, man. You know, we got a little spot that we're working on. And we're gonna have more events there. We're gonna have more gatherings, break bread, build bridges, you know, do more cooking videos and things of that nature. We're gonna be turning up real soon. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you asked that. We got something for you coming real soon.
Dope is needed. And we got to tell people, don't eat that lab grown chicken and meat out there, man. They're throwing at us heavy right now. They're throwing it crazy. Please don't fall for that.
You know, the kids gonna start being born with extra fingers, extra toes.
Man,
We don't need to be lab
Stay away
rats.
from that, man. Stay away from that. Stick with the plants, man. And those are grants. Those ain't loans. Man. The plants are grants. They loans. You ain't got to pay those back, man. Those are grants, man. You feel me?
Yep,
Stay away from those loans, man.
From the soil to the soul.
Oil, man. Soil to the oil, soil to the soul, man. Yeah.
All right, so GhettoGastro.com is the storefront. I mean, everything. The universe starts there.
Everything is Ghetto Gastro.
And everything is Ghetto Gastro on social media as well. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, 100%.
Appreciate your time.
Wish y'all luck on your journey and hope to see y'all again soon, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Peace to the God.
Peace.
Love.
Peace.
Later.